Hello, George.
Hi, good morning. Welcome, or hello from Ohio, I should say.
Welcome, welcome. Nice to have you here. George is very enthusiastic. I want to attend this meeting. I want to be there. I want to be there. Let me in, please. Nice.
He also got dressed up.
Yeah, I know. I told him it was casual. See, that's why you have a beard, so you don't have to actually tie the necktie. You just sort of loop it underneath, just do a once over, and everyone assumes you have a fancy. See, oh, this is the new tulip knot. How does that look? Does it look good?
Yeah.
I've been practicing. Yeah, there you go.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Truth be told, George and I started growing a beard at the same time when COVID started, so he's way ahead of me. I cannot grow a beard to save my life. I waste my hormones on other things, I guess, but I've never been able to grow a mustache or a beard. I actually tried once. Good thing my wife hates facial hair, so it works out well. Well, good to have you here, George. You were very enthusiastic. I guess you need to attend some Zoom meetings for a class or something?
Yeah, Grand Lodge of Ohio has something called the Royal Schofield Society. Royal Schofield was a Grand Master back in the 70s who was very into educational components. And a couple years ago, a past Grand Master and some others decided to, basically, it's like college for Freemasonry.
Oh, cool.
And you take some tests in the first phase, and then the second two phases, you write some papers. One cool thing is you research your Masonic lineage. So you look at your petition, and you look at who signed that, and then you research who signed those petitions. And it was interesting talking to some of the elder members. They're like, "Oh, I remember so and so. Didn't see him much, but I remember him from around town and things like that." And
I like that idea. I really like that idea. Rehearsing your lineage.
Yeah.
I mean, if I rehearse my lineage through my family, it's me, and that's it. So it's down from there. My son's a D. Malay, but no one in my family was a Mason. But I like the idea of looking at your petitions, talking to those people, see who signed their petitions, and trace it back. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that anybody can go on the through Grandview for Grand Lodge of Ohio, but I think anybody can go on and look at what the course requirements are.
Okay.
There's some neat assignments. The one, you got to read some Masonic publication, which I chose the first publication in America, which Benjamin Franklin reprinted. It was about 1730 something or whatever, taken from something over in London for about 18 lodges over there. And then we wrote a critical response to it. It was I'd never read that book other than that. It was very interesting.
Cool.
Morning.
Morning. I'd like to welcome whoever just joined. Go and say hello.
Hello.
Morning, Denise.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
And go ahead and introduce yourselves, what lodge you're from, and so on.
Sure. I'm Denise. I'm from America Lodge 57 in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay. And William?
Warm fraternal greetings from Aurora Lodge, Fitchburg, Massachusetts, currently in El Paso, Texas.
Very good. Well, hopefully we'll reach a point where we'll be able to say, hey, greetings, introduce yourself. I'll introduce while we're slowly coming in. But I'd like to welcome you all. We got a few more minutes before we start. Hey, Brian, are you on now, Brian? So you're logging in.
Yes,
hello.
I am.
Good morning, Brian.
Oh, good morning.
When you open
Morning,
up
Brian.
your, that's right, afternoon to you, sir. When you start your Zoom meetings, how often before the start time do you normally start them?
I'm normally there about an hour beforehand.
An hour? Okay, okay.
It's a drop-in, so we get people showing up with very little sense of time. So
Yes, okay.
With no sense of time, Brian.
Yes. I see you've grown a tail since I saw you last. That's quite interesting.
Yes.
You've had your COVID shot then, and no unusual side effects.
None at all. No, everything's absolutely fine.
Well, because I saw someone post, it might have been in the Zoom chat. By the way, I did figure out how to mute your ESSA Lodge Zoom chat, and they made life a little bit easier.
Why?
I like seeing it, but like every 2 minutes, like, oh, I got a new message. Oh, it's just those guys. So you can mute an individual conversation, but still have it coming in, which I like.
Yeah.
But someone mentioned starting their meeting half an hour early, and I'm lucky if I started like 9:55. So, so I was thinking I try to get on here by 9:30, but I kind of like the idea of coming in early and giving people a chance to, come in and say hello before we kick it
Yeah.
off.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Ray.
I think I saw Rooster get on. Morning, Rooster. I thought I saw you there. Yep. Listen, okay. I guess not. I thought Bruce was on. Our senior warden. It's funny as we have more active people who are not actually members of Virginia Research Lodge. I'm trying to persuade more of our officers to get involved so I can get more admins on this. So it's not just a one-man show. And I see most of the names I recognize. I assume that that Cameron invited a few people.
Yeah, I was at a Zoom call yesterday with a lodge in Colorado,
Okay.
El Paso Lodge, and they mentioned they already knew about it independently, but they mentioned they'd be coming.
Okay.
So I sent them the link. Who was it? Jim Johnson and Chris. I can't think that was worship master. It was El Paso Lodge, I do believe.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, I recognize some names from the Facebook group. We have quite a few people who find out about this from our Facebook group. Hey, hon, you're on camera. You may not know it, but you're on camera. But anyway, yeah, it's funny because I've always found that being on Facebook, there's a whole lot of people all over the place who really get excited about masonry and research, and they're really active. And I'm one of the few who's actually a member of the lodge who does a lot on the group. But I mean, I want to make it open to as many people as possible. But I'd also like to try and encourage more of my own members to get involved and take on some duties like admin. I definitely need to get at least one of my guys to be an admin so they can add people and meet people, whatever. Because last time I was the one talking and I had to stop and let people in and whatever. So it helps to have at least 2 people on the Zoom meetings who are helping run the show. So that way it's not one guy trying to keep track. If I never talked, it'd be great. If I just sat here in the background and just added people and that's all I did, that'd be great. But that's not really me. I'm more of an MC. So welcome everybody. So I'm more comfortable doing that than running the board. So I need to get a sound engineer, I guess. So.
Did I just see a pig walk in the background?
Yes, you did. That is Ham Solo. There he is. Yes, we are a.
I was like, at first I thought I saw a bulldog. I was like, wait a minute, that's a pig.
Yeah. He likes the heater. Yes, we have a dog, General Grievous, and a pig, Ham Solo. That's my son Isaac standing up the heater. So I'm gonna be sweating like ham in a minute. Yeah, my son asked us for a pig, so we got him a pig a few years ago. They're kind of like dogs, but they're smarter and more stubborn, and they eat more. So yeah,
Nice.
they're very convenient. I mean, I made some smoothies this morning, and I just give all the peels and all the pulp to him.
Oh, yeah.
So there's very little to throw away. So it's very
Yeah.
helpful.
Garbage disposal.
Yep. Everything but celery for some reason. Frank's having trouble getting in. I'm trying to say hi to people whose names I recognize. We're up to 18. I think this may be the most we've had at one Zoom meeting, so this is good. So thanks, Cameron, for having an interesting topic and getting people to come.
Windsor Masonic Temple is worth attending. It's a great building.
Well, I
It's a big
appreciate
draw. It's a
I
big
appreciate
draw.
you appreciate you taking it on at very short notice. But like I was saying earlier, and I got more people joining all the time. I want to have these every Saturday. We had to replace our actual meeting. We've had 2 meetings online to replace our regular meetings, and I promised myself in August, well, we'll have one every Saturday, whether it's a meeting scheduled or not. We'll just meet every Saturday. That fell apart quickly. So in December, I started again with an effort to try and meet every week. So it's a commitment, though.
Do you have any time limit you want me to stick to, or?
I really don't. I generally plan an hour. I see very people complain unless I think people have other things to drop out and do. But I try to keep it within an hour, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, if we keep your topic to about an hour, then I think we'll be fine. And as long as everybody's interested, there are no rules. We're figuring it out as we go.
That
Jessica.
sounds like my life.
This online thing is great. I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Talking to people online and having these online meetings it's a great experience. And it's unfortunate why we had to start doing this, but maybe it'll help Masons get closer together, because there's no reason not to keep connecting even when we go back to lodge. But certainly right now when we can't meet in person, I think it's more interesting to meet guys from all over the world here online. It's really kind of interesting. So, and we had one of our early presentations. What was 3 brothers from Brazil came in and talked about Brazilian Masonry, and that went over real well. So I'm trying to line up people from all over the world to come in and talk about Masonry in their Grand Lodge in their country. And it's really kind of neat. And I've got plenty to draw from, so I'm going to be leaning on some of you in the future and saying, hey, can you come do a talk? And all you do is I just have like a panel discussion. Let's get like 2 or 3 of you to sit there, and I just line up a bunch of questions ahead of time and just ask general questions about Masonry, because I'm really curious, like, what's the dress code where you are? And, what are the officers, who's elected, who's not? And there's so many differences. It's really cool to get that perspective. And for all of you, like most Americans, it's normal. What we do in Virginia, what you do in Ohio, what you do in Texas is probably pretty close to the same. And that's just normal. That's just Masonry to you. And then you hear from these guys from another part of the world, you're like, wow, that is so off the wall. But to them, it's perfectly normal. But to us, we're like, wait, what? You don't elect your secretary? Or, I don't know.
I wish.
That's right, because the master appoints the secretary in England, correct?
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, wow. That's
What,
some say the secretary appoints the master in our district.
I think the master appoints the secretary. Obviously, he's got to listen to what everyone else says as well.
Right.
So he can't just do off the top of his head. I mean, if the rest of the people didn't want me or didn't want the secretary, then the secretary won't get appointed.
Right.
But theoretically, it's the master, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What part of England are you from, Brian?
I'm in Cornwall, which is down the bottom end, down the narrow end of the UK.
All right, my pops, he's a Geordie. He's from just outside of Newcastle.
Right, yeah, that's about 300 miles away from where we are. And also industrialized, whereas we're sat in the middle of the country.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a small cottage, so a small miner's cottage, 200-year-old miner's cottage in the middle of Bodmin Moor, basically.
So Cameron, the interesting thing is I learned about this chat from the Cornish Facebook Cornish group chat, the ESSA group chat that Brian hosts. So he's in England. You and I live 2 hours apart from each other, and I had to learn. And I learned about your chat, about your topic morning from England.
It's amazing how that
small world.
Out. It's very cool.
I try to post at least one Zoom meeting a day, so that theoretically the brethren could go to a Zoom meeting every day if they really put their minds to it.
That's very cool.
I did want to welcome Brother Joseph Boyd. You say hello. I've seen you online a few times.
Hello, hello.
Good to have you here. Hey, how you doing?
Finally good to get to join in.
Yes, good to have you here. You don't look anything like your picture anymore, but that's okay.
Well, yeah.
And I do want to mention, when I see anybody from actual research lodge here besides me, Brother Ray Steele, are you on there? Ray is our immediate past Grand High Priest of our Royal Arch Grand Chapter.
Good morning. I would have thought that we'd have had more of our 1777 members present this morning. This gives them an opportunity. We haven't met for some time, but
Indeed.
I'm sure Dennis and them got the word.
Yep. Oh, I notified everybody, but I don't know. Not all of them pay attention to Facebook, so we'll see what happens. I've tried to encourage more of them to get active. I would like to get more of them to be involved and be admins and whatever, so it's not a one-man show here. As much as I enjoy talking, I don't want to do everything. So
I think I've sent out 4 or 5 invites this morning. If you want just masonry in general to show up, I just say, hey guys, join the research Facebook group and
absolutely
get involved.
And I do want to thank Brother Brian, who actually has started posting other Zoom meetings. I mentioned at our last meeting, I want to get more because I don't have time to run around and find all these Zoom meetings. I see them, and when I see one, I try to remember to share it, but I can't keep track of all of them. And I'd like our Facebook group to become like a clearinghouse for Zoom meetings, because if you want to attend one, there's a lot out there. And I just need to ask all of you who are members of the group, if you see one, if you see an interesting Zoom meeting coming up, just share it in our group. So that way we have more people aware of and get more of us going to more of these meetings, because there's a lot of them out there. It's just, most people don't know where to find them. If you don't belong to the right groups, you don't see the invites. And if you join, if you really want to blow up your message, your Facebook Messenger, then join Brian's ESSA Lodge Zoom chat. Non-stop chatter. I swear, you guys.
If it's right with you, I'll put a link in the chat so that people can actually join along. Thank you very much.
Oh, and I did learn from our last meeting that I have to physically save the chat before I close. So shame on me. And Shelby's not here. I'm sorry, Shelby. He asked me about it after. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's saved because it recorded the meeting. And I look, it's like, oh no, okay, I have to actually click save on the chat. So y'all remind me to save the chat when we're done.
Well, you can actually change that in settings so that it'll save it for you automatically if you
can.
Really,
you?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that then. Okay, because that would be easier. In fact, I think I might have changed that after the fact, but to save. I know there's an option to save it, I think, when you're in it. I don't know. Maybe I did.
If you're needing to save the chats for something, if you're particularly like secretarial role, I don't know if this is going to be beneficial, but I use this for consulting for other businesses, but there is a program on the web called otter.ai.
Yeah, I was told we're not allowed to use that specifically. Someone was using it without permission on a Masonic Lodge meeting, and somebody went a little bananas. So yeah, I'm not sure which of the bodies said no, you may not, but more than one has said no, you may not. So I'm like, okay, nope, nothing artificial here. But I understand. Yeah, nothing here nobody can see, but I don't want to go afoul of anyone. But I understand the rationale. We want to control, who has stuff. And we got up to 25 people. I want to make sure I give everybody a chance to come in, but we got 25. I'm gonna give it another minute, and if nobody else joins, we'll go and let user there start.
Good evening, Christopher.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
And I'd ask everyone to introduce themselves, but we're adding so many people now, it's kind of hard to do that. But I appreciate everybody who's joined. Sure, we'll all get a chance to chat. If anyone here is not a member of our Facebook group, I would ask that you join it. And it's funny how you joined our Zoom meeting because of something else. You didn't even hear about it from us, but you're more than welcome. And I'm going to put the address for our Facebook page in the group chat for everyone.
I've commented on that before, but just to make sure everything's cool, all right? Later.
What's that? Say again.
Oh my God, I believe you for like a second. Thank God you have a sense of humor because I am totally stressed out. We have like a million things to talk about today. The guest list, the flowers, and locations.
Hello.
Down at the golf course. No, no golf.
I think that's Tom.
Somebody's, yeah, we can you,
Yeah.
when we start, you can mute everybody except for-
Hang on a sec. I'm going to mute everybody. You're muted by default when you come in, but please, if you're not speaking, I ask you to mute. It's easier to keep it quiet for everyone. Anyway, as I was saying, you're welcome to join our Facebook page. I lost track of my thought. I'm sorry. And if you have any Zoom meetings, you're welcome to post them. And I will post the URLs and such, whatever's useful in the chat on the Facebook page when we're done. I was going to recognize one more person, I guess not. Oh, yes, that was the other thing. If you are interested in being a speaker, my plan is to have Research Lodge do a Zoom meeting every Saturday at 10, unless something else comes up. Now, A. Douglas Smith Research Lodge, which is in Northern Virginia, has a meeting on Saturdays, and we're going to be going to them on that Saturday. And Virginia Research Chapter, which is a Royal Arch Research Chapter, had theirs last Saturday. So when there's another research event in our area that's on a Saturday, of course, we'll defer to them. But other than that, my plan is to have one of these every Saturday at 10. And that seems to work for most people, so we're going to go with that. But if you're interested in presenting a paper, please just message me or post it in our Facebook page and let me know you're interested, because I need speakers. I'm always happy to line up more speakers. So anything related to Masonry or that you think would be of interest to the group, we're very happy to let you present your paper. So, anybody have anything to say before we go to our presentation? I think we've stabled on the number of people coming in. Okay. Go ahead. Let me go ahead and do the formal thing. Brother, let me say his name right. We have with us Worshipful Cameron Adamson. He is a past master of a couple lodges in Windsor, and he is currently the secretary of Harmony Lodge number 579 in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. And he is going to give us a talk today on Windsor Masonic Temple and whatever else he sees fit to talk about. So let's all welcome Cameron. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you so much. Yes, as Worship Brother Christopher Douglas stated, I am the past master of Windsor Lodge 403 and Harmony 579, both of which meet at the beautiful Windsor Masonic Temple, and current secretary of Harmony Lodge 579 as well. And the focus of my talk today will be on the Windsor Masonic Temple. It is a landmark architecturally and historically of both the city of Windsor and the region of Essex, but also I just think even of Southern Ontario. Any questions that you have for me, by all means, you can leave them in the chat, or at the end you can ask, and I'll do my best to answer. If I don't know, I'll make sure to take down your information and send you an email so I can get back to you with the answer. Also, all of the links that I show during this presentation, I will leave the link in the chat, so you can copy that and share it with others if you'd like. And I'll also be talking to you a little bit about my Masonic podcast, some of the guests I've had on it, such as Brother Christopher Douglas, and some general ideas that I have. And I should mention, I speak for myself, so this does not, all opinions expressed are those of Cameron Adamson, it's for Encompass, and not necessarily the Grand Lodge of Canada in the province of Ontario. And with that, how do I share this screen? Go. I'm gonna hit. Oh, Christopher, you could, Brother Doug, if you could let me share my screen.
Okay, let me see. You don't have the option to, let's see.
It says host disabled.
Oh, hold on, all participants. There we go. Okay, yep. Try now.
Let's see.
Still learning this. There we go.
All right. So I figured since it is, after all, January 2nd, maybe start with some a quick Happy New Year's and some images from the history of the Windsor Masonic Temple. After all, it's been here for almost 100 years. This is its 100th year anniversary. The cornerstone was laid in July of 1921. So I'm just going to hit the play button here and wish you guys a Happy New Year, and then we'll go on to the virtual tour of the building itself.
We're not seeing the presentation.
We got the music, but not any video, if that was it.
You don't have the picture?
Nope, we see the document, the Word document.
You'll have to share the new screen that pops up because you're only sharing this document.
Oh, sorry.
We enjoyed the musical interlude, we really did.
How do I share the new screen? Anybody know how to share the, because it says your screen sharing is paused.
Yeah.
When you click on the screen share, you may have to stop sharing what you're currently sharing and then either select the new window, or there may be an option, depending on your version, to share all. There we go. Now we can see it.
All right. Sorry about that. We'll restart one more time. I apologize. Okay. And then, well, actually, what I'll do is you heard the music. I'll talk during the some of the pictures. So this was in the Windsor Star in 1921. This was the proposed design for the Windsor Masonic Temple. And then this is the facade visible on Olette. It's on the corner of Olette and Erie, very close to the border crossing. This was from the Windsor Star. You can see 75 cents for dancing at the Windsor Masonic Temple. Dances were regularly held there. In this ballroom, largest dance floor in the city of Windsor. Our turkey kinos, which were pretty much a Windsor mainstay for most of, well, still they go on today 3 times a year. These are some images of our first Border Masonic Temple Association chair. I'll just go back and hit the music. We'll finish it off. right, so Happy New Year. Hope you guys enjoyed some images from the past. We'll have some more in a second when we go through the tour. All right, can you guys see the screen? It's got the logo on it right now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So here again is the image of the Windsor Masonic Temple. The Masonic Temple was built in 1921, but the land was purchased for it in 1913. Obviously, with the start of World War I, resources were scarce, so building didn't start until 1921. It took approximately a year to build completely. They turned the sod in May of 1921, laid the cornerstone July 9th, 1921, and then the building was officially opened actually January of 1922, although Masonic lodges were meeting there starting in the fall of 1921. The facade or the design is what's called neoclassical. You can see, for example, the columns. There are 8 columns spaced across the facade, limestone and marble on the inside. So it was, I said, designed in the neoclassical style by J.C. Pennington. He was a very prolific architect in the city of Windsor. Actually, if I did a podcast with an architect from Calgary, Alberta, but he knew of J.C. Pennington because he was a very prominent architect both within Windsor and nationally. He was also a member of my mother lodge, Windsor Lodge 403. And for our 100th anniversary, we're going to do something to honor his memory. I just think this is cool. This is from the original blueprints at the City of Windsor Archives from 1921 when it was being designed. The building cost $200,000 to construct at the time, which works out to, I did the math before, about $20 million in today's dollars. And we're going to see the actual rooms in a second, but this is the blueprints from the lodge room floor, the third, which is the third floor of our building, of our Masonic Temple. Windsor Lodge, which is my mother lodge, excuse me, meets here in the blue room, we call it, because it's got blue carpet, because we're creative. And Harmony Lodge, my affiliated lodge, meets here in the red room. And we will see some images from both of those rooms in a second. About to sneeze. Ah, there we go.
If I could ask a quick question, do you have a Royal Arch chapter that meets? Is that maybe why it's called the Red Room?
We do, yeah, and the Royal chapter meets in the red room.
Right, okay.
And Scottish Rite meets in the blue room.
Okay, that's the same in our building at Granby Street, which you have covered in your podcast. They have a Royal Arch room with the columns permanently installed, and they have a red carpet. And then all the Blue Lodge rooms have blue carpets.
Yes, and
the commandery has tile, of course.
Nice. We don't have that. We have our blue and our red room, and as you said, yes, Royal Scottish Rite meets in our blue room. Royal Arch meets in or York Rite meets in the red room. Our building was designated as a heritage site in the city of Windsor. That's what this plaque is here. I should have got a closer shot of it. And this stone marker here just indicates that the Windsor Masonic Temple is a heritage building within the city of Windsor. Particularly the facade, the front of it is the heritage part, but this year it should all become a heritage building as we reach our 100th anniversary. As I mentioned before, the architect for the building was J.C. Pennington. It really was, a state-of-the-art building when it was built. And if you go and you look at some of the news articles in the Windsor Star from the 1920s and 1921, when they turned the sod and laid the cornerstone, you had thousands of individuals, not just Masons, but Masonic families and just spectators present to see it, because it really was a major building project within the city. And in the 100 years, it has been home to weddings and school dances, even a couple of funerals. So this is entering the Windsor Masonic Temple. Sorry for the shaky cam. I'm in a wheelchair, so I'm not the best at taking videos yet, but I'm getting better. We have ballroom dancing classes and ballroom dancing recitals regularly at the Masonic Temple, and you'll see the ballroom in a second. That's just a directory of the lodges that meet. We have 7 lodges that meet at the Windsor Masonic Temple. And I just think the stairs are really cool because they are marble staircases. And if anybody ever wants to learn how to ballroom dance and you have to live in Windsor, give that number a call. That's going down leading to the ballroom. So this is our refreshment area. It's where lodges will gather after a meeting for, obviously, for their refreshments, for the junior warden's toast, for things of that nature. Seats about 100 people. It also, though, can be gussied up. And there have been a few lodges that have held formal banquets in this area and in this room. And also it can be good for renting out for like baby showers or union meetings, things like that, community events. Because we have, as you can see here, let me just go back for a second. It has TV and audio visual capabilities, as well as refrigerators, stoves, so it can be used to bring your own food trays in, things like that. You don't need to bring an outside caterer. Just another image of it. This picture here, I have a video I can show about it, features Brother John Diefenbaker, who was Prime Minister of Canada, and he visited our Masonic Temple while he was Prime Minister. He visited as both Prime Minister and brother, and attended a lodge meeting in our building. Original flooring. Most of the wood, especially in the blue room and the red room, are still original to 1921. A lot of the light fixtures are original to that time period as well, which you'll see when we go down to our lodge rooms. So yeah, if anybody ever gets a chance to visit when we can meet again in person, you will be spending, after your lodge meeting or after our lodge meeting, you'll be spending the rest of your evening up here with us, having a few toasts and joining in fellowship. I took this picture. This is a picture from outside, or from the top of our building, the 3rd floor. The only reason I like this view is because if you can see here, this triangle in the background, that is the Ambassador Bridge. It is so it connects Canada, Windsor, Ontario to Detroit. A lot of Masons from Detroit have made the trip over to visit on that bridge, and vice versa. And it is about 3.5 kilometers away. So I just really think it's a cool view. Get a chance to see that. Let me just go forward to so that picture I told you about before, this is it up close. This is Brother John Diefenbaker, Prime Minister of Canada at the time when he visited our Masonic temple. And we've also, I'll be leaving a link, connection to American presidents. When the passing of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Masons at the Windsor Masonic Temple paid tribute to his passing in honor of our American brethren and his contributions, both Masonically and obviously during World War II, which I'll talk about more later, but that took place at the Windsor Masonic Temple also. This is the Essex Scottish Rite Learning Center. This began in, I can't remember the date now, 2000 and, if I recall correctly, 2004 or 5. I volunteer here myself when it's running. I'm sure other lodges here know about the Scottish Rite Learning Centers, where we tutor children with dyslexia and learning disabilities. It's completely volunteer run. All of the tutors are volunteers, as are all of the Masons who volunteer there. We'll be there to hand out snacks, cookies, log people as they come in and out, and perform regular checks to make sure everybody's okay and doesn't need any assistance. Actually, it's interesting, the closest learning center to ours in Essex is actually located in the United States, in Dearborn, Michigan, is the closest one to ours. There are, Neely might know for sure, if I recall correctly, 7 Scottish Rite Learning Centers in Canada. Obviously right now, unfortunately, it is on hold due to COVID, but when it does run, it runs for 4 days a week, Mondays through Thursdays. And this is one of the spaces where the tutoring takes place. It was designed by St. Clair College students to be minimize outside noise, outside distractions, so the kids can learn in as distraction-free environment as they can. You'll see everything is recorded. That's what this is up here. So Big Brother is always watching to make sure everybody is safe. And obviously all the tutors, as well as all the Masons who volunteer, have criminal record checks, things like that. I've had the chance to see some of the tutoring take place, and it's just amazing the work that they do with the children. All right. My favorite room in the whole wide world. This is the Blue Room of the Windsor Masonic Temple. Seats approximately 200. As you can see, it's got the tiered seating. This is facing west. So that's the senior warden's chair that you can see in the back. All of the wood is original. Oak, primarily oak and maple is the type of wood that was used. The lighting fixtures are original. It also is rented out for, well, it's not rented out for, but it's used, for example, for the graduation ceremonies for the students who take part in the Scottish Rite Learning Center. Once they graduate from the Learning Center, we have a graduation for them in this room. This is where I became a Mason in 2007. I was initiated on this altar. So 4 of the 7 lodges meet here. And 3 of the 7 lodges at the Windsor Masonic Temple meet in this blue room. The other 4 meet in the red room, which we'll see in a few moments. Let's see. All right, so this is something everybody, when I was doing these tours in person, This is something everybody loves. Anybody want to guess what this might be? If you visited before, don't say it if you know, but anybody have any thoughts or any guesses?
Doorbell?
Sorry?
I'm guessing it's a doorbell.
Doorbell. No, good guess though. It's not a doorbell. It also dates to the 1920s. I'll hit the play button and I'll show you guys a demonstration of what it is. It actually originally came from a trolley car. And we have one of these located in the blue room and one of them located in the red room. So this is original 1920s technology. You can see I'm pulling on that lever, pulling it down, and then
light dimmer.
It's a light dimmer, that's right. So when you grab this handle here, you have to grab it from the wooden part there and bring it down, it dims the lights, and then bring it back up. It's, I forget what the word is now, a repeater, or can't think of the word, but yeah, what's interesting about it is, and I made this mistake myself, because of the way it works, when you dim the lights, this metal plate here gets very, very, very hot. And if you're not aware of that and you happen to touch it, it can be a painful experience. So that's why you got to grab it by the wooden handle here. But everybody, I think that's probably, of all the tours I've done, people love playing with the light dimmer. And if you're a Mason, and you'll know what that is. You'll know what that is for. This is the blue room antechamber. So it's where Masons will just gather and relax before lodge meetings start. And the blue room that you just saw is just through these doors here. A lot of this building has been maintained and cleaned by regularly cleaned by Very Worshipful Brother James Lawton. His wife, his family, they do an amazing job with keeping it all clean. The carpets, the drapes. Obviously, there's a lot that needs to be done to keep the building clean. And this is the very first lodge in the Windsor, the oldest lodge in the Windsor area, Windsor, Ontario, is Great Western Lodge. It dates to 1854, so it predates the Windsor Masonic Temple by a good few decades, but it was named after the Great Western Rail Line, which had its terminus in Windsor, Ontario. And this train set, model train, was given to Great Western Lodge for their 150th anniversary. Actually, the oldest Masonic lodge in the Essex district is Thistle Lodge in Amherstburg. And they've got some pretty amazing stories. They're right on the river. They've got some amazing stories from the War of 1812. Supposedly commanders of their armies, the British armies and American forces meeting just before war broke out at their temple. It's a really cool spot. But we're pretty good too. 1854 is nothing to sneeze at. That is the oldest Masonic lodge that meets at the Windsor Masonic Temple. And they still have all of their old minute books and things like that. So it's really cool to see minute books from 1854. This is the Windsor Lodge Charter, My Mother Lodge, which dates to 1883. Obviously, all of our charters, and for the rights as well, are on the walls of the blue and the red rooms. That's the charter for Great Western Lodge, dating to 1854. And I love anything old, any type of history. I always absolutely love it. So you'll find me a few times going through some of those old archives and old documents and getting a chance to check them out. This is our Red Room antechamber and museum, because we have a lot of artifacts from Masonic history in our region, both related to the Windsor Masonic Temple and predating the Windsor Masonic Temple. We actually had 6 Masonic temples in Windsor before the Windsor Masonic Temple was built. This is a cornerstone that dates to 1804 from a lighthouse in Essex. Again, just shows the history of Masonry in our region. This is from our cornerstone ceremony. In 2017, shouldn't remember this because I was involved. Yeah, 2017, if I recall correctly, we held a cornerstone ceremony at City Hall because they were building a brand new City Hall, and we laid a cornerstone to celebrate the building and the people who work in it for our area. And this is from that ceremony. You'll notice we actually, the first 2 Masonic or first 2 city halls in Windsor dated to 1856 and 1871. And Masons laid cornerstones at both of those Masonic, or both of those city halls as well. Actually, I thought it was really cool. In 1856, the cornerstones were laid by the Freemasons of Windsor and Detroit. Just a little American connection there, shows back when I showed that image of the Ambassador Bridge, just how connected Canadian and American Freemasonry is in Windsor. That we had Freemasons from Detroit attending cornerstone ceremonies and lodge meetings. And certainly it's been the opposite way as well. And here is the Red Room. As you can see, it's smaller than the Blue Room. It seats, well, if you count the balcony, you could probably fit a couple hundred in here as well, though we don't really use the balcony anymore. It's primarily used for storage space.
Cameron, where is that G? Is that suspended over the altar?
Yes, yes. It's you can't see it because the wires are so thin, but yes, it's suspended above the altar. This was taken on the 2nd floor, the balcony looking down. So yeah, you can't see it, but the G is suspended above the altar. It looks like we have the Rainbow Girls, the youth group that meets here. It looks like they were here the day before we took this picture, because usually our lesser lights would be not so haphazardly put back. But this is used for the Rainbow Girls youth group, as well as, let me just go back to it, as well as Harmony Lodge, my affiliated lodge. So you'll find me sitting here most of the time at the secretary's desk during Harmony Lodge meetings, and our York Rite bodies.
I mentioned that because maybe, do you know why it's over the altar? Because at least in American lodges, the G is in the east over the worshipful master.
Really, that's
mentioned. It's mentioned specifically in the ritual.
Right.
You point to the G in the fellowcraft degree and talk about it. So
all of our both in the blue and the red room, our Masonic, our G is suspended above the altar.
Wow, that's interesting.
As in most Canadian lodges I've been to, come to think of it, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen one.
It is in Scotland as well. Predominantly in Scotland, it's over the altar.
That's very interesting. I mean, the same symbolism, just the location is different. That's very, very cool.
And we do actually point to it as well during our second degree. It is referenced. But yeah, we keep ours above the altar. This is the, you know, it's interesting. I've visited many American Masonic lodges. I've never noticed the placement of the G. That's why I love things like this stuff. You think of stuff you didn't think of before, get different perspectives. Oh, just going back a second. So this is the kind of landing area between the red room, antechamber, and museum, and the blue room. So between the blue room, antechamber, which I showed before, and the red room, antechamber, museum, you have this landing area. You see over here, we got computer, printer. It's a great place for a secretary if they have to do some work last minute, print out some extra summonses or documents. They can make some copies here, print out some stuff quickly. I've been known to use it several times myself, get some last minute work done. If any brethren, this is where I ask the favor, if any brethren might know, my favorite picture or painting at the Windsor Masonic Temple is this one here. Got a closer view of it. Nobody knows where it came from. It's just been there since kind of our oldest member has been attending. I don't want to, take it down and cut it out because I'd hate to damage it. But if any brethren know anything about this painting, I always ask on the off chance somebody might recognize something about it. But I think it's beautiful, and looks like the type of place I'd like to live.
Have you tried, Cameron, if you take a picture of it, you can do a Google search by image and
Really?
find similar images. That might work for you.
I got to check that out. I mean, I have an art historian do a tour, and she talked about like the what's it called, the kind of theme of the painting. I guess it was a pretty standard design to have in English paintings, to have the mountains in the back, a body of water, animals in the foreground, foliage. But yeah, I always thought I just think it's a really, really cool painting. I'm very fond of it. And last place is our ballroom. So obviously most Masonic temples that were built during this time, 1870 to 1930, considered kind of the golden age of Masonic temple building. A lot of them will have public venue spaces for rental purposes and income purposes. The best example would be the Detroit Masonic Temple, which was actually started in 1920, but finished later because it's so much larger than the Windsor Masonic Temple. But they obviously have their space for the concert space, Phantom of the Opera, all of the different bands they've had there throughout the years. But we've got pretty nice ballroom space ourselves. As I said, it's the largest dance floor in the city of Windsor, because it goes basically from one wall all the way to the other. And we have our ballroom dancing here. Everybody, when I posted pictures of this on some local Facebook history groups, so many people from Windsor and Essex commented, remembering their weddings, their dances, their graduations, just all the special events and memories that people have of this building. It's a Masonic home, but it is as well a home to the city of Windsor. And it's a home to the happy memories of so many of our residents. A lot of people mentioned having their first dance at their wedding underneath this disco ball. Just some more images from the ballroom. Original, flooring. And here's the stage. We used to have regularly Masonic dances, they were called, every Friday night. It's funny, every time I mention I'm involved in the Masonic Temple, people will always mention going to dances in high school, the disco ball. Bill Richardson Orchestra was the main band. As you saw in the New Year's video I showed, tickets used to cost 75 cents during the 50s and 60s. And they stopped having dances in the 1990s about, but that's one thing I'd love to bring back one day, is dances, Masonic Temple dances. And that is the very brief tour of the beautiful Windsor Masonic Temple. I will, the only other thing I want to talk about quickly before I go on to can I take any questions anybody may have? This is an idea I have that I think would be of benefit to anybody who's involved with the Masonic Temple, especially one that is distinct or looks as unique as ours. I use Global 3D Arts, but you can use, this is the podcast here from it. I've created scale models of the Windsor Masonic Temple done by Global 3D Arts. They're 7 inches by 7 inches, and they light up from the inside. They're hollow, so people have bought them and used them for model train sets, Christmas villages. You know, I don't know if anybody collects those kind of Christmas village sets or train sets or anything like that, but I called everywhere and I couldn't find any companies or groups that, like, I couldn't find any Masonic temples for those villages. You know, most villages, they'll have like a post office, a general store, a school, whatever it is, but I couldn't find any Masonic temples to put in those villages. So I created one of the Windsor Masonic Temple. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. This isn't meant as a plug necessarily for Global 3D Arts, so they've been terrific, but I'm sure everybody may have a local 3D printer or somebody who creates models of their buildings or of different buildings, and it's been, see if I can find one. Oh, here it is. So yeah, that's a picture of the model. I just think it's a great idea for any Masonic temple board to consider.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I love it. And this isn't quite finished because what they also did, and I thought it was really great, is they add a sign. So the building itself has a sign that goes over the front doors. So they have a sign on it, and just the generic sign has it says Masonic Temple and has our phone number. So if anybody wants to book us for events, the phone number is on there. But you can also get it custom made with a special message. So a wife bought one of these for her husband, who's a Mason, and she wrote on the front, "Love you forever," as a custom sign. So with that,
there was a question, Cameron, maybe we have other Canadian brothers here too. Are you allowed to serve alcohol after or before your meetings? You mentioned toasts.
Well, let's
talk about non-alcoholic.
How do I get back to how do I get access to the chat again? I'll do that after. Yeah, we do serve alcohol. There's always been some debate about whether we're allowed to or not. The ballroom that I showed is licensed to serve alcohol. So it will serve alcohol at all of its functions, weddings, Masonic banquets, special events, things like that.
But those are private functions.
Yeah, upstairs, we will toast with alcohol. It's not served, right? We're not charging anybody. It's Masons up there. But yeah, we do serve alcohol at our refreshment hours.
That's interesting. Well, I can't speak for every Grand Lodge in the States, but definitely in Virginia, it is specifically prohibited. You are not allowed to have alcohol on the property at any Masonic event. You are not allowed to serve alcohol at any Masonic meeting, but they have allowed private groups to rent your building and serve alcohol. Like if you wanted to rent your building out for a wedding or such. But if it's any sort of Masonic function, you are not allowed to serve alcohol. And have it, not a question of selling or not. You're not allowed to have it there.
That's not true. You're allowed to have it at table lodges. You're allowed to have wine.
That is the exception, is at a table lodge. It's only during a table lodge. You can't have alcohol after a stated, for example. You can, if you have a specific table lodge ceremony, you're allowed to serve wine within the confines of the table lodge ceremony. And that's the only exception.
I just put the link up there to the Global 3D Arts video about the 3D models. But does anybody have any questions? And then I can go on to talk a bit about the podcast and take any questions about that. But anybody have any questions about the Windsor Masonic Temple in particular?
So Cameron, nobody maybe noted. I happen to know because I've been there and I've used it, but there's an elevator in the building now that services all of the floors. Do you know when that was sold? Because surely it was not an original feature, was it?
No. Yeah, so it was, I don't recall the exact date. It was installed in the 1990s. Primarily thanks to the hard work of very worship brother Jim Lawton, who really pushed for it. We actually have we put in a few accessibility features through the years. The elevator, for obviously it helps brothers such as myself, but also any older brethren who have trouble with the stairs. We also have sound systems in the blue room and the red room. We added those approximately 4 years ago. We have microphones hanging down above the Worshipful Masters station in the east, the Junior Warden station in the south, the Senior Warden station, and above the altar itself. So any brothers who are hard of hearing are able to hear everything that is being said. We have, I can't think of the word now, somebody's, knock on wood, having a heart attack. Defibrillators, we have those in the building. And our washrooms on the top floor and on the ballroom are all accessible. So yeah, we have a lot of options for brethren who may need assistance with whether it be mobility or the washrooms or hard of hearing or anything like that. AED, there we go. Anybody else have any questions? I can talk about the Masonic Temple all day.
Your dedication shovel that was in one of the slides, what year was that, or what was that for?
1921. Yeah, that was the shovel that they used to turn the sod. It was actually done by, oh, I can't think of his name now. But the brother who turned the sod was the oldest brother in the district at the time. And he was a member of Great Western Lodge. He passed away just before the official grand opening of the building in 1922. But he would have had a chance to visit in there in the fall before it, he passed away just before it was officially opened. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Cameron, how far away are you from Detroit? Is it just next door as it looks like on the map?
It is just next door. Let me go back to the virtual tour for a second. Because that picture I showed from the...
Because I noticed in one of the temples you had the stars and stripes, and I thought you were in Canada, and so it confused me a bit.
Yeah, no, we are, but we're right So here's that picture. So this is the, like I said, the Ambassador Bridge connecting Canada to, or Windsor to Detroit. It is literally, you know, back before COVID, you could jump on what was called the tunnel bus and be in Detroit in, depending on traffic, you know, 30 seconds to 1 minute. So there's just such a connection in terms of the, one of the best things about being a Mason in Windsor is how often you can visit lodges in Detroit and Michigan in general. Actually, I don't know if this is going to work, but you guys are seeing my webcam. This is my balcony. And there's Detroit. I don't know if you can see it well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could throw a stone and hit Detroit.
Who raised all the $200,000 to build the building? Was that lodges or individual brothers or both?
It was both. I don't know the exact breakdowns, but it was both. It was also shares were sold at the start. So there was like a lottery. Individuals would purchase shares of the building. They auctioned off some different memorabilia as well, like that shovel. But I'm not sure of the exact breakdown between lodges and individuals. It's interesting in the Masonic Temple was built, as you can see, with the blue room here. It really was built at a time when Freemasonry was growing, kind of that golden age of Freemasonry. At the time, in the 1920s, is when in Ontario, we reached over 100,000 Freemasons in our province. And in America, if I recall correctly, at the time, 1 out of every 11 adult men were Freemasons. I believe it was in the 1920s it reached that point. So it really was built at a time when membership was constantly growing. There was always this idea that it would continue to grow. So it was built at a time when, you know, there was this idea that money and membership would always be in good supply. Obviously, in the 1930s, that was tested. The building was almost lost in the 1930s during the Great Depression. It was only because of Scottish Rite moving into the Windsor Masonic Temple that we were able to keep the building. The Scottish Rite moved in much later. They had originally met in Riverside for the first 10 years and then moved in and basically saved the Masonic Temple.
Hey, Cameron, when you wanted to show your outside, because you're sharing your screen, we really couldn't see you. If you want to do that again, if you want to stop sharing, and I'll make
let's
you.
Go stop sharing.
Okay.
All right. Try this one more time.
I'll stop talking.
I don't know.
Hold on, it's not showing you. Give me a sec.
Yeah, I can see it. No.
Can y'all see?
Yeah.
Do you see me or do you see him?
No, I see skyscrapers because I've pinned it.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Those skyscrapers are the you probably were seeing the GM building. So those skyscrapers are Detroit. So it's right. Yeah, it's so close. We're actually the only city in Canada that is south of America. We're south of Detroit. You got to go north to get to the United States from our end of the world.
To put it in better perspective, if you walk out the front door of the Masonic Temple and turn right, it's maybe 6 or 8 blocks down to the river in Detroit across the river.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's instant. Yeah.
It is. If you take the tunnel, you're basically, when you get out the tunnel, you're a hop and a skip from our building, from our temple. It's funny.
Is the Masonic Temple in Detroit of a similar style as it was built in about the same time?
Kind of. It is also neoclassical, like the architecture, but it was and it still is, the largest Masonic temple in the world. It was definitely built for what was considered a booming Masonic population. If anybody ever gets the chance, I would strongly recommend you tour the Detroit Masonic Temple, because it really is amazing. You could get lost in there, and there's so much of the stuff that was started that wasn't ever finished due to the Great Depression. But it has a swimming pool that was never finished, hotel suites. So it's somewhat of a similar style, but just much, much larger. All built primarily out of limestone. They actually had to, and Rob Moore, if I can make a suggestion, is with the Detroit Masonic Temple. He can talk about it forever, and it's an amazing building. So he would be the person to talk to more about it. But they actually purchased shares and ownership in a limestone quarry to make sure they had a sufficient amount of limestone to finish the building, because it was such an undertaking. It's on Temple Street, right, named after Masonic Temple, and it's a pretty amazing spot.
Well, thank you very much, Cameron. We appreciate it. Any other questions? You did have something else you wanted to cover. I hope you're not planning to play the whole podcast, because we talked for an hour. But if you wanted to do a summary, you're welcome to.
No, yeah, I'll just what I'll do is, if you go to the chat, I'll leave a link. The link I just left is with my interview with Brother Douglas. If you want to see what we talked about and kind of learn more about the Square and Compass podcast itself and the topics we discuss, I would certainly, if anybody's interested in being a guest on the podcast, I always love having a chance to talk to brethren from out of the district about their Masonic experiences and Masonic history and their Masonic temples. I'll leave my email in the chat. info@squareandcompass.ca. And then maybe the last thing I'll do, and then I'll take any more questions if anybody has anything, is, let's see, I'll show
remember to share your screen.
Yes, I'm going to do that just one time, just 1 second. All right, I'll share the screen once more, and I'll just show a preview of the podcast. It's about 30 seconds, and then that'll be it.
Bill Adamson Sr., Worshipful Brother Bonifacio Soto, Very Worshipful Brother Derek Reason, Acacia Lodge, Brethren from Essex. I do these at the Windsor Masonic Temple. For me, I took it to heart when it said, you get out of it what you put into it. Masonry forces you to think different ways. And to retain a self-thinking, and then thinking when I was 21 years old. What are we doing?
So there you go. I always thought that was funny how at the end of, I was interviewing Bill Atkinson Sr., very prominent Mason in Essex District, and in the middle of it, the lights went out, which I always thought was kind of funny. But yeah, thank you so much for, first of all, for inviting me and listening to me speak. Like I said, I've been in no rush, so if anybody has any more questions, please feel free to ask. If you want to do me a favor and subscribe, like, comment on the links I left up, I'd appreciate it. And if you want to be on the podcast, shoot me off an email, info@squareandcompass.ca.
I do have a question. I heard the term very worshipful brother. We don't have that in Ohio. What does that mean exactly?
Okay, so it's a Grand Lodge designation. Right Worshipful Brother is the District Deputy Grand Master. So he's the brother who represents the district to Grand Lodge. Very Worshipful Brother is also designated by Grand Lodge, usually at the request of district. It's an honorific. It's a Grand Lodge officer, often a secretary. A district secretary will be given the title of Very Worshipful. A Mason who has shown dedication to the craft, things of that nature, will be granted Very Worshipful. I believe, if I'm missing anything, Brother Neil, is there anything I'm missing with that?
What is a Grandmaster called?
Most.
Okay, so that's the same.
Yeah.
So it's the various that's different for us.
The worshipful master of a lodge is in Canada is the worshipful master. You know, in the UK they talk about the right worshipful master. If you're elected district deputy grand master of your district, you're the grand master's representative in your district, and you receive a right worship designation. And so the very worshipful designation sits between master and the right worshipful. And like Cameron says, it's often an honorific. If you serve a year as district secretary, then you're honored with a very worshipful appointment. And the Grand Master will have several appointments each year for various reasons, and those brethren will receive a very worshipful donation.
Interesting. We do have an unofficial term here in Virginia. If you're the only guy in your lodge who's left available to be district deputy, we call you left worshipful.
Just a slight correction there, Neil. Scotland, it's right worshipful, and England are worshipful.
Okay,
and then
and
then they continue once they've left the chair to be worshipful. But in Scotland, we just use past master. We're just brother.
You're not worshipful once you're no longer master.
No, but just go back to brother.
Right.
And that's an interesting designation.
Yeah,
that's an interesting designation because in Canada, or in Ontario, where Cameron and I are Masons, if I was elected district deputy grand master of my district in 2006, so I was made a right worshipful brother, and I maintain that status, you know, unless I happen to be grand master one time. I think Prince Hall Masons, if I'm not mistaken, revert to brother after they've had a higher designate.
I think if you're provincial, you will keep probably the past Grand Master, but you will not be right or anything like. You're only right worshipful while you're in the office of provincial Grand Master.
Interesting.
I think that's a paper in itself, I think. Well, I mentioned that at another meeting. I was corrected. It's in the Royal Arch, you are most excellent while you're in the chair, and then you go to right excellent when you're a past high priest. So I knew there was at least one body where you don't retain it, whereas like in the Blue Lodge in the States, in most American Grand Lodges, worshipful, right worshipful, and most worshipful are the titles, and you do retain them after you've served in the office, until of course you get a higher one. So
I don't know if anybody enjoys architecture or architectural drawings, but I showed a couple pictures from the original 1921 blueprints. I'll put a link to those in the chat because there's obviously more than I showed. I always thought it's neat, being built in 1921, the Masonic temple had a coal room, and you can still see the coal chute, and it's in the blueprints, but obviously it was heated by coal I don't know when they made the switch over, but it was heated by coal, and you can still see where the coal chute was. It was delivered on Erie Street. For most of its, I'm not I think maybe this 50s or 60s they changed it. So yeah, if anybody wants to go to those.
The fireplace, oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
The fireplace that was seen in one of the images, is that registered to be used? Is a chimney registered?
No, and it makes me so very sad. It's for show. It's a facade. I would love, because it just feels like the type of room that should have a fireplace. You know, it feels like the type of room that on a cold night should be a roaring fire. But it's no, it's just a facade. If I could ever, you know, snap my fingers, my dream would be to make that a working fireplace. I suppose I could just start a fire in there and see what happens, but the temple board might have some issues with me doing that.
We'll be referring to the former secretary of Windsor.
I've gotten so much trouble over the years. I think it'll be okay. I'm known to. My philosophy is it's always better to beg for forgiveness and ask permission. Always the case. Don't tell them that, Neil. Don't go spreading my.
You've just told everyone.
What's on Zoom stays on Zoom.
There you go.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll be happy to provide this as evidence at your trial there.
The second what stays on Zoom, what happens on Zoom stays on Zoom has never been a thing, just for the record.
That's true. Very true.
The second part of that principle of yours is that if you can't make everyone happy, you have to ensure there's an equal distribution of unhappiness.
That's right.
I also, if anybody knows anyone or any groups who'd be interested in one of these tours, before the pandemic, I was organizing tours of the Masonic Temple, like public tours for groups similar to Philadelphia, Detroit, for $10 a person. I'm now moving them online. So I'm doing a virtual tour with the Detroit Historical Society coming up. But if anybody knows any historical societies or any individuals who would be interested in a tour, let them know. My email address is in the chat. I'd be happy to book a time for them. Good for schools as well. Good for just anybody who's interested in history and architecture, things like that. I see Mark Phillips said it's being recorded. Well, I guess it'll make good evidence in my trial.
That's right. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending. If there's no more questions or anybody has any announcements, if you have an upcoming Zoom meeting or something you want to promote, we'll have a good of the order here for a minute.
Oh, sorry. It says in the chat, invite us to Detroit 1-2, please, Cameron. That's done through Rob Moore. I don't know if he's doing it virtually. They usually do them in person. I'll see if I can grab Rob's email address and throw it in the chat before I go.
Secret area below my house, but like I kind of need help with chest organization. I like.
Any other questions? Any other brother want to offer anything? Oh, okay. I appreciate everyone coming out. This is the biggest crowd we have. I do plan on having a Saturday Zoom meeting at 10 o'clock every week as much as I can manage to do so. So again, if any of you are interested in presenting a paper, you're more than welcome. Just message me. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, please join. And I'm going to save the chat. You were supposed to remind me.
But it's like stuff like compasses.
Hit the save the chat, Christopher.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, appreciate it. And I've set it to automatically save in the future, so that's good. So again, thanks everyone for coming out. If there's no more questions, go ahead, Joey. Speak up. Unmute. Joe, you had something to say? Unmute, or are you just saying hi? Unmute. Are you just waving by? Okay. All righty. Thank you all for attending, brethren. And this will be posted on YouTube. Check out the Facebook page, and we will have links to, there are links there for everything Cameron's talked about. We will have a copy of this chat posted there too. And I hope to have this up on YouTube here by the end of the week. So y'all have a very happy new year, and I'll see you all next Saturday.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Douglas. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Hey,
everyone.
Cameron,
Thanks
good
so much.
job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well done.
Yes, good
Excellent.
job. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Later.
Till next time.
All right. Bye-bye.